Hello everybody, bit of a different video today than the usual stream with playing. Many people have been asking the channel for kind of a strategy guide or a mixture of uh, a tier representation of different heroes and looking at them and how they relate to each other for deck building and things like that. So I thought I would use the classical game tier system that you usually have. um, I will go briefly through that, and then we'll go jump right into the order range heroes. So these are all the order range heroes as I see them, and of course, as I want to tell you, this is going to be my rating for these heroes for maximum power level. I will also do some comments on what happens at lower levels because there are some significant changes here and there. So the tiers that we have over here usually are God tier is usually those heroes that are oppressively good. They are so powerful that they just change the game by themselves. They win by themselves. They don't need to combo with anything. They just are generally good that you're always happy to draw them and have them. Top heroes, the ones in the next tier down there, are the heroes that you like to have, that you like to see often, and that are the backbone of your team, especially if you have good combinations going. Good heroes are just generally good heroes that may or may not show up. Sometimes you can combo with them or not. And you could argue, for example, that Meow over here could also be in the combo tier, but I usually see him as just a generally good hero. Meh heroes are heroes that you can use, but not particularly exciting. And of course, there's a category of trash can hero, which is something that you don't really want to see ever or play ever. And combo hero are heroes that in certain combos maybe even god tier or very very interesting, but not necessarily good by themselves. They just need big setups or big things to do. So looking at order right here, what we see first is at the very top. Let's go to the first two god tiers, Afro and Justia. They're just by far the best range heroes, almost in the whole game. Definitely for true for order. Afro, I've commented on this many times, is probably the best hero overall. Her builds are just a nightmare to deal with. If you manage to max her out, she will be a flagship in your team, and she's able to win even without any attack getting through to the warlord. So that's just basically crazy. At lower levels, she's not as good, by no means. You do need to get, I think, to reborn to a high third reborn or fourth reborn to get the 100% damage to the warlord. Once you have that, she becomes really god tier. The other abilities scale very well. Her damage is very high. It's just a great package. The little runes that she delivers can also be a nightmare as well to deal with. Just all in all, extremely powerful hero, and you're always happy to see her. Justia, I'm pretty sure you have encountered her here and there. She's probably one of the most insane heroes when she shows up because she can show up open field without any protection and still be able to protect herself through her ability. The fact that she's able to just simply dominate the field and almost make you miss with every new hero coming in, it's really impressive. She scales really well at later stages. Fifth Reborn, she becomes almost unkillable. Her ability to pump herself up and everybody in the line creates for a situation where she's in the line, she gets a bit of protection up front, and you just cannot get rid of her, so you cannot reliably remove her. So she eventually dominates the game. That's what she's got here. On the next tier, you can see this for all the range is a very crowded tier. We have first, let's talk about Alex. Alex is a unit that people like very much. I'm not particularly super fond of her because I don't value her abilities as much as other people do. I know that at lower power levels she can be very annoying, especially the silence can be very good at lower power levels. But we have to recognize that Alex has the highest printed value as a range unit in the game. So that's just the highest number ever. I think it's over 444. So that's valuable by itself. She also can silence, which can be interesting here and there, although with such a high attack. Usually she just kills whatever is in front of her. And the cleanse ability is deceptively annoying as well, so she can remove poison and all sorts of things. And she also comes with this fluffy palace in front of her that can give her direct protection, so she can protect herself just on an open field, which is very, very useful as well. So I say she's a top hero. You're usually happy to draw her, even though I'm not particularly fond of her. I know people value her usually higher than I. I have to recognize that she is pretty good. Apollo, on the other hand, is the second highest attack value in the game for a range unit, so that already is a very useful thing to have. He is quite interesting in terms of the abilities that he can display. Um, he can provide protection with evasion and with different forms of shielding that he has, and can be, as a general rule, a very annoying hero as well. Usually a very good hero in combination with others. Now, the next couple of ones, some of you may even argue that they can be considered God tier as well. And there's an argument to be made that is true, but I think they're just very, very good heroes, especially at high power level. So first one of these next ones is Mina. As you know, Mina is very dear to my heart. First of all, her accuracy ability makes her a perfect counter for dealing with Justia, which can be almost impossible sometimes, and she can actually go through that. She also is able to, on her own, scale her attack really, really well. And the third ability, which is the direct damage to the Warlord, can sometimes kill or swing the game in your favor just on her own, just by the fact that the opponent is trying to kill you, and she just in return shoots you down. So if you manage to put a downstream in the fourth row, by the time the opponent is able to kill her, he or she might be already be dead. So that can be very interesting as well. At lower power levels, she's still also very good and very solid. I think the accuracy is the by far most interesting ability at low power levels. And she's just general overall very, very strong unit, as is typical for all the these days. They have kind of very OP units in general. Next one, Ghoster. You have probably seen her. She has kind of the reverse ability for Mina. So Mina punishes the opponent for getting attacked. And Ghoster punishes the opponent when you attack. So she's more of a proactive ability. If you combine them both, then every attack just hits the opponent. So that's pretty sickening. Also, she has this ability where she can, every time the opponent manages to deal damage to you, she hits you back, and at high power level, she hits back with over 600 damage. So it's pretty much clearing almost any unit in the field. The thing is, the AI uses her very, very well. The AI is able to cheat with her a lot and just basically wreck you completely every time she is played downstream and you're not able to deal with her directly. So very good unit. She's a bit less powerful in terms of defense than, for example, Justia or Mina. So she can be dealt with easier than those. But still, if left unchecked, she will just wreck you. Strick, as you probably know if you watch my videos, very big fan of him. He's the master splasher. He just is able to make for huge comebacks. Being able to deliver up to, I think, 700 splash damage is the maximum you can theoretically do with him, which is pretty impressive. And basically clear the whole board. That can be devastating, but it's less devastating at high power, you would think. You do manage to clear the board pretty consistently, but if you have nothing else going on, that is only going to momentarily make your opponent stumble, but not going to kill him or anything. At lower power levels, however, where it is very difficult to rebuild or to rebuild an attack properly, it can be really devastating. The argument can be made that at lower power levels, Strick is really a god among units, so he could be in the higher tier over here, together with the other three. But at high power levels, I think he's just a very, very good unit, very, very solid, particularly when hitting twice. Also, the downstream Every time he attacks, he pumps everybody else. So playing it upstream is usually very helpful to boost everyone's attack downstream and make for huge attacks in out of nowhere, basically. So next one is Yuri, who is basically one of the most defensive anti-range units in the game, together with Blair, who is just next. She is really strong once she gets her ability up to 100%. So she can really, with one attack, kill multiple units in the back, and that can be devastating at some points. Particularly good also to deal with all kinds of spawn creatures like Floss or the rabbit or grandma and things like that. So she can be very helpful. I think at lower levels, she's probably a lot less interesting and maybe just a good unit. But at very high power levels with 100% damage online and even with the small runes, which can be also very annoying, she can be a very good defensive unit to really wipe the board and make sure that you win the range war. Finally, on this very strong tier, top tier, my girl Blair, as you know from my stream, you have seen me play her a lot. I'm a really, really big fan of her. She's kind of maybe together with Yuri the worst of the bunch in this line, but her abilities can be really, really strong as well, and against some decks can be really devastating. So she's really great at removing all these pesky out of hand range units, for example, big flosses or things like that. And the ability that she has to give pierce to everyone, especially when played upstream, can help you really almost single-handedly in one attack remove all range units from your opponent. So that can be also very devastating as well. Finally, her ability with the mental shield, it looks innocuous, but it can also be very relevant, especially if you have other units that can maintain those shields or can even get bumped through the shields like Apollo. So that can be also very good in combination. So you could even argue that sometimes Blair can be really good as a combo unit. But I just see her as a generally top unit, even though within the top tier, she would be a bit on the lower side, but still very, very good, better than the other ones. Now, when we go to the good tier, and again, this is just the reason why Order is so OP. Even some of the figures here, you could argue that they are top tier as well. Santa, for instance, has the ability to almost deal with any annoying creature, and for that he's really good. The problem with him is, especially at high power levels, is his defense doesn't scale really well and his attack doesn't either. So outside from really removing one single unit that can or clearing the line in a unit, he doesn't have much going on for him. So that makes it a bit of a weaker unit in that sense and has nothing else going on. If you had him, for example, with a 500 defense like Juste has, then it would be a completely different story because he would then clear and defend the whole line and be able to survive almost every attack like Justia can. But otherwise, it's just very useful, a good solid unit, and nope, I don't think there is any shame in playing him, but not really that good. At lower levels, he can be a bit better, especially because he allows you to punch up, meaning you can deal with very, very high power units from the opponent, even if you have a level 1 Santa, so that can be very beneficial as well. But it's not any game changer. I think it's just a solid unit that really deals with annoying heroes like Shamuna or a crazy Deadlord or something that doesn't have immunity. Basically, most of the things can be dealt with. The fact that he turns them into a present, it can be detrimental as well. Sometimes those presents provide cover for the next unit, and you're still basically in the same problem that you were facing before because it takes you multiple turns to get through the whole thing. That's where the Blair piercing effect comes in very handy. Lapin has the ability, especially to get you out of a situation where there's a row full of 3 different heroes, and those 3 heroes are protecting each other. That's where she can be very useful with his freeze abilities. So she can freeze the whole line So at least you get to kill the first hero in the line, or with multiple units, you can even try to kill all of them. She has a very high attack value, especially at higher levels, but her defense doesn't scale as well. That's why she's not in the top level. Her abilities are useful, and she's not bad. It's no shame in playing her. But as I said, she's just low on defense and can be dealt with very, very easily. She is also able to provide peers, that can be also very useful, especially when combined with Blair. And generally speaking, all the units that just combine very well with each other, complement well each other. I think Pano has like a soft spot for all that, as you will see in these evaluations. They tend to have generally very high value units, very useful units. Next one on the list is Frost. As you can see, Frost is also very useful, especially in an order. In a full order unit, can be very helpful. Her ability just run. The problem is you cannot control her ability in any form, so you just randomly freezes someone. And I suspect the epic version of Frost is actually better than the main version of Frost herself, because the main ability of the epic version is very powerful. Frost, however, does scale very well in terms of defense, so she can be very formidable when pushed to the max. And she also has deceptively this power to win life based on each enemy, and also just happens to have clear cleanse, so she can remove negative effects as well. So all in all, a very good utility, but not really something to be considered a top unit, and usually only useful in combination with others. So you could even argue that she is more of a combo element, just like Meow as well. Meow, I mean, this may change dramatically soon because he's being reworked, so we don't know exactly how it's going to look like when he's finished. But the version that we have right now, it's more of a good solid shooter with good solid effects, and it can be interesting to have him in play with multiple other units to deal with anything showing up. It's particularly interesting in Dark Tower, because sometimes you just don't you get him down, have a few other units, the opponent doesn't get any other units at all, and then they simply get wrecked by him. So that can be very interesting. But just all in all, a good unit, even at higher power levels, or he's probably better at lower power levels where he's more difficult to deal with. And in terms of the mech category, we have Athena over here, which is in lower power levels can be very impressive. And I think the first time I saw her spawn 5 archers, I almost fell off the chair because it was really impressive. The thing is, she doesn't scale really well. The spawns are not really strong or anything, and usually what you end up doing is just putting more things on the table for Strick to destroy you completely, for Strick to make really impressive splash damage. I mean, she's obviously good with Legion because she's the best spawner in Order, and Legion feeds on that, so that makes her really useful for the mining team. But I don't think she's really main deck material, especially at high power levels. I mean, I have yet to face a very, very high powered one, but looking at their stats in the high power level, not really very solid addition to any team. So I wouldn't recommend playing her, especially at high power levels. But again, still useful and serviceable at low power levels. So this is basically all the range. As you can see, very, very skewed to the top. Very, very good units. Aphrodite, again, probably the best unit altogether. Looking at all the units in play, she's probably the one who dominates the most, that can get you out of almost any situation. Just, yeah, always annoying. Mina, Ghosta, Strick, the impressive impressive trinity of destruction. And some even at the lower, I mean, some of the other factions will probably be very happy to get something like Santa, or maybe even Frost. That would be very interesting to them. Let me know what you think about this review and about these categories. Write comments in the in the comment section of the video. I will do another video for this for chaos and then for nature as well for the range units. And once we finish range, we're going to melee because melee is a lot larger, and so we'll probably have to split those into a bit more of different sections to go a bit less in depth. Let me know how you like it. Let me know if you need to have more detail, more discussion about this, if it's too fast or too much, and on your overall comments. And again, as I mentioned, this could be argued, and I wouldn't mind. I just put them over here just so because they're generally just good units. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this, subscribe, of course, and remember, Snicator in Twitch can get you to the stream. I hope you like that content, and see you next time. Bye bye.